The cold, dark emptiness of space stretched endlessly before the alien scout ships. They had traveled across galaxies, far from their homeworld, with only one mission: to assess the power of the planet known as Earth. For centuries, they had watched from a distance, observing the primitive species that inhabited this blue and green world. The aliens were confident, almost arrogant. After all, Earth was just a small, unimportant planet in the vastness of the universe. The aliens had conquered countless worlds, seen advanced civilizations, and wiped out threats much greater than this one. They didn't expect much from Earth. The scout ships silently approached Earth's atmosphere, invisible to the human radar systems, which were outdated and easily fooled. The aliens knew that Earth's technology was nothing special, primitive, even by their standards. Their weapons were simple and their ships slow. It was just a matter of time before the aliens revealed their superiority. As the ships descended closer to the planet, the scouts gathered in their control room, looking over their data. They laughed among themselves. "This is going to be easy," one of them said, a cold smirk on their face. "Their ships are outdated, their defenses weak. They are nothing compared to us." But as they began observing the human forces, something unusual caught their attention. The world below them was in motion. Humans were clearly preparing for something. The scouts zoomed in on the most powerful military installations. Earth's army was not as weak as they had first believed. "Are they really mobilizing?" one of the scouts asked, his voice filled with doubt. He zoomed in on the radar stations, the satellite networks, and the military bases. Earth had a vast network of communication and control systems. But it wasn't just that. There was a precision to their movements, a level of coordination that the aliens hadn't expected. The humans seemed to be acting with purpose, but there was something strange about it. They couldn't put their finger on it. It was almost as if the humans knew they were being watched. "These humans are clever," the lead scout said, adjusting the controls to get a better view of the planet's surface. "But we still have the upper hand. Let's continue our observation." The aliens studied the human weapons next: rockets, missiles, and aircraft. Nothing particularly impressive. But then they noticed something unsettling. Some of the ships had unusual markings. No one on Earth had seen these ships before. These weren't their typical war machines. "Wait, what is that?" another scout asked, pointing at the screen. That's not from Earth." The screen showed a sleek, dark ship hovering near a mountain range. It was different from anything they had seen on Earth. The alien scouts had seen ships from many civilizations, but this one was something new. It was unlike any human technology they had ever studied. The scouts exchanged uneasy glances. They had underestimated Earth, but they were still confident they could handle anything. Yet the mysterious ship left them feeling uncertain. Was this just a trick, a bluff to scare them? Before they could investigate further, something even stranger happened. The radar systems, which had been showing Earth's movements for days, suddenly went silent. The signal was lost. One of the scouts exclaimed. "Where did it go?" The silence felt like an eternity. The lead scout punched a few commands into the control panel, trying to regain the data, but it was useless. The military networks had gone dark. Not just the radar, but the communications too. There was no sign of the unusual ships anymore. It was as if they had vanished. "Did the humans notice us?" one of the scouts asked, his voice growing more uncertain. "Could they have detected our ships?" The lead scout dismissed the thought. "Impossible. Our technology is far superior. They could never detect us." But as the minutes passed, the feeling of unease only grew. The scouts scanned for any signs of the mysterious ship or the military movements they had seen earlier, but there was nothing. It was as if Earth had gone into hiding, retreating into the depths of their world, and the scouts couldn't find them anymore. The lead scout clenched his fist in frustration. "Something is wrong," he muttered. He ordered his ship to move closer to the surface, just to get a better look. But as they approached, a strange signal began to emerge, a low-frequency hum, barely detectable. It was coming from the Earth's surface, and it felt wrong. It was a warning signal, but the aliens couldn't pinpoint its origin. Then, in a flash of light, the signal intensified. The alien sensors buzzed wildly, and the mysterious ship they had seen earlier appeared on their radar again. This time, much closer. It had decloaked in front of their ships. The sleek, dark vessel was now visible, standing out against the bright blue sky. "What is this?" the scout asked, his voice filled with disbelief. How did they? The human ship, with its strange markings, seemed to be waiting. It wasn't moving, just hovering in place, a silent challenge. The scouts stared at the screen in shock. Earth had just revealed something they never expected. A fleet. Not just one ship, but a force that had been hidden all along. The tension in the room was thick. The scouts had only one thought in their minds now. Earth was not as weak as they had believed. And what they were about to face, they were not prepared for. The alien scouts were silent. The sight of the cloaked Earth ship, now fully visible and hovering ominously before them, left them frozen. They had expected to find a simple, unworthy planet, one that would fall to their might with little effort. Instead, what they discovered was something far more dangerous, an ancient power hidden in the deepest corners of Earth's history, waiting for the right moment to strike. The lead scout, who had been so confident just hours ago, now felt a chill crawl up his spine. He stared at the mysterious ship on the display. It was sleek and dark, unlike anything the scouts had ever encountered. But it wasn't just the ship that intrigued them. It was the strange energy it radiated. The ship hummed with a low, almost imperceptible frequency, a warning that only the most advanced alien sensors could detect. Whatever this was, it wasn't a normal Earth vessel. "How did they manage to hide this from us?" one of the scouts asked in disbelief, tapping at the control panel to gather more information. Their technology should have been primitive. How could they develop something so advanced? The lead scout didn't answer at first. His mind raced. They had underestimated humanity, and now they were paying the price. The strange ship wasn't the only thing that had changed their view of Earth. The alien network had been analyzing data for hours now, and what they discovered shocked them even more. The planet was more prepared than anyone had imagined. It wasn't just one ship. There were more. Hidden deep within the oceans, buried beneath mountains, and scattered across the world in secret locations, humanity had developed an entire fleet of advanced warships, most of which had remained cloaked until now. The aliens could only watch in stunned silence as the scale of Earth's military power unfolded before their eyes. How many more?" one scout whispered, their voice trembling. "I don't know," the lead scout admitted. He turned to the communication officer, who was scanning the data feed for any sign of further threats. "We have to pull back. This is no longer a simple reconnaissance mission. We need to report this to the Council." Before the scout could issue the order, a new signal erupted from the surface of the planet. It was coming from the hidden fleet. "Alert!" the communication officer yelled. "It's activating." A massive surge of energy pulsed through the ship's sensors, followed by an eerie silence. For a moment, the aliens feared they had made a mistake. But then, a second later, the fleet's ships began to emerge from their cloaks, one by one. Hundreds of sleek, high-tech warships now floated silently in space, just outside Earth's atmosphere. Each ship was equipped with advanced weapons and defenses, far beyond the technology the aliens had seen before. There were ships that seemed to defy the very laws of physics, their hulls shimmering with an energy field that rendered them nearly invisible to conventional sensors. The lead scout felt his heart race. He couldn't believe what he was seeing. How had humans hidden such a fleet for so long? How had they managed to develop such technology without the rest of the galaxy noticing? For a moment, the scout could only stare at the holographic projection before him, unable to comprehend what was unfolding. This was no longer just a small rebellion. Earth had become a force to be reckoned with, a planet that had kept its secrets for centuries, and now the galaxy would have to pay the price for their arrogance. "Prepare to engage," the lead scout ordered, his voice strained. The realization was settling in. They weren't facing a primitive species anymore. The galaxy's most powerful race might soon be looking at Earth in a very different light, and that light wasn't one they could easily extinguish. The fleet moved into formation, weapon systems locking into place, their glowing energy shields illuminating the darkness of space. The scouts couldn't believe it. The humans were not only capable of fighting back, but they were ready for war. But what happened next caught everyone off guard. A message was broadcast through the aliens' communication channels, a chillingly calm voice echoing through their ship's system. It wasn't a threat. It wasn't a warning. It was a simple statement, one that sent shivers through every alien present. "Run," the voice said, clear and steady. The words seemed to hang in the air, a calm ultimatum. "Run." The lead scout's eyes widened. It wasn't just a message. It was a declaration. Who are they?" one of the scouts asked, looking around in confusion. How could they send such a message? The scout leader didn't respond. He was staring at the communication system, trying to make sense of it. But his mind was racing. It was clear that humanity was no longer the weak, unsuspecting species they had once believed them to be. Earth's hidden fleet had just issued the most terrifying message they had ever received: run or face destruction. The tension in the ship was palpable. The aliens had no answer. What could they possibly say? Earth was no longer a minor player in the galaxy. It was now a dominant force. And they had been warned. And the war had just begun. As the alien scouts sat frozen, watching the enormous fleet of Earth's hidden warships, something began to shift in their minds. The arrogance that had once defined their species, the sense of superiority that came with centuries of dominance, was crumbling before them. They had always looked down on humans, primitive, weak, incapable of standing against the might of the Galactic Council. But now, here they were, faced with a force they had no explanation for. Earth's fleet was unlike anything they had ever encountered. The ships were not just advanced. They were more powerful than anything the aliens had built. The technology was beyond comprehension, and the aliens were beginning to understand that they were not in control of this situation. In fact, they were in danger. The alien scouts began to exchange uneasy glances. There had been no signs that Earth was hiding such a vast military force. No warning signs, no hints, and yet, here it was, an overwhelming display of military power, silently positioned in space, ready to strike. The leader of the scouts, a battle-hardened veteran of countless encounters with lesser species, was the first to break the silence. He turned to his communication officer and snapped, "Send a message to the Council." Now, the officer hesitated for a moment, fingers hovering above the console. "Sir, I can't. The frequency is blocked. It's like they knew we'd be here." The scout leader's eyes narrowed. The realization hit him hard. This wasn't a simple military defense. This was strategic. Earth's fleet had been waiting. And now, with the alien forces in their sights, they were preparing to retaliate. "Prepare the escape pods," the scout leader said in a cold voice. "We're going to need to retreat." The officers looked at him, confused. "Retreat, sir? But we've never—" "Retreat," he repeated firmly. Now, the decision was made. The aliens had underestimated humanity, and now they were going to pay the price. It wasn't just Earth's fleet they had to worry about. It was the very idea that they had misjudged an entire species. The arrogance that had carried the aliens across the galaxy for millennia had finally met its match. The humans were no longer the helpless prey the aliens had assumed them to be. As the fleet of Earth ships moved into position, the aliens scrambled to adjust their plans. They had expected to invade, to conquer with little resistance. Now, they were the ones who were being hunted. Back on Earth, within the hidden command center beneath the mountains, the leaders of the human fleet stood in silence. They had been preparing for this moment for decades, if not longer. The message they had sent to the aliens, "Run," was not just a threat. It was a signal that the time had come to reclaim their place in the galaxy. The Council of Earth, the group responsible for overseeing the development of Earth's military force, had known that the time for secrecy had ended. "Do you think they'll listen?" one of the commanders asked, looking toward the monitor, where the alien scouts were beginning to power up their ships, clearly preparing to make their escape. "No," the leader of the human fleet responded quietly. "But they'll know we're serious now, and they'll never forget this." The room fell silent once again as the human fleet readied themselves for what would come next. A war was on the horizon, one that would change the balance of power in the galaxy forever. The hunt begins. The alien scouts, realizing they were completely outmatched, activated their cloaking devices, attempting to vanish into the darkness of space. But Earth's fleet was prepared for this. Their cloaking technology was far superior, and they were equipped with long-range detection systems that could track even the faintest energy signature. The human ships spread out, forming a massive net around the alien forces, cutting off all escape routes. The scouts, now fully aware of the threat they were facing, panicked. One of the scout officers turned to the commander, fear evident in his voice. "Sir, we can't get away. They've anticipated every move." The scout leader looked around at his officers. His mind was racing, trying to calculate a way out, but there was no way out. Earth had outsmarted them, outmaneuvered them, and now the aliens were trapped. "They've outdone us," the leader muttered, barely audible. "Prepare for the worst." But before the scouts could make another move, a massive shockwave of energy rippled through space. The force was so powerful that it could be felt even on the alien ships. The Earth fleet had initiated their first strike. The first wave of attacks from the human ships lit up the darkness of space, lasers and energy beams racing toward the alien ships with precision. The aliens tried to retaliate, but their weapons seemed to have no effect. The humans' energy shields were too strong, their technology too advanced. The scout leader's worst fears had been realized. Earth was no longer a target to be easily conquered. In a last-ditch effort, the alien scouts sent one final distress signal to the Galactic Council, begging for reinforcements, but there was no reply. The humans had already jammed the alien communications network, rendering their cries for help useless. The first battle of what would come to be known as the Great Human Uprising had begun, and the galaxy would never be the same again. As the first wave of Earth's advanced weaponry tore through the cold void of space, the alien fleet was thrown into chaos. Despite their extensive experience in battle, they were completely unprepared for the sheer scale of Earth's power. Every movement, every strike from the human ships was calculated, precise, and devastating. The once confident alien scouts now found themselves trapped in a deadly game of cat and mouse. Their once pristine ships, engineered for speed and stealth, were no match for the brute force of Earth's military technology. Lasers, energy beams, and missile strikes struck the alien ships with relentless force, tearing through their shields and weakening their hulls. Desperation was setting in. The alien scouts attempted to launch evasive maneuvers, but Earth's fleet anticipated every move. The human ships, equipped with superior tracking systems and weaponry, were outclassing the alien force at every turn. The alien leader, who had once scoffed at the idea of humans being a serious threat, now felt a cold dread creeping up his spine. His officers scrambled to send out distress signals to the Galactic Council, but the communication channels were completely blocked. They were alone. No reinforcements would come. A sense of panic spread among the ranks. "Sir, we cannot hold out much longer," one of the officers said, his voice trembling with fear. "They've adapted to our tactics. They're using everything we've seen in the past against us, but with far greater efficiency." The leader's eyes burned with frustration. They had underestimated the humans, and now it seemed it was too late to turn the tide. His mind raced for a solution, any way to escape this nightmare. But as he glanced at the sensors, he knew there was no escaping the inevitable. Earth's fleet was tightening the noose, inch by inch, until there would be nowhere left to run. "Prepare to engage the warp drive," he ordered, trying to buy some time. "We'll jump to a different quadrant of the galaxy, away from their grasp." But when the officer attempted to activate the warp drive, a deep chill ran through his body. "Sir, it's not working. The warp core is offline." A cold silence fell over the command bridge as the implications of this realization set in. The aliens were completely trapped. Their only option now was to fight and hope for a miracle. Meanwhile, the human fleet continued to close in. On Earth's flagship, the commander stood stoically at the helm, watching the battle unfold on the screens before him. His face remained unreadable, but inside, a fire burned. This was the moment Earth had been preparing for, a moment to show the galaxy that humanity was not to be trifled with. "We're not just defending Earth anymore," he said quietly to his officers. "We're defending our future." The commander's voice carried weight, resonating through every officer in the room. The entire fleet was unified in their mission. They had waited for centuries, hidden away, and now they would strike. The aliens had laughed at humanity once, and now they would understand the true cost of their arrogance. Back in the heart of the alien fleet, the leader's frustration had reached its peak. His crew was desperate, scrambling to find a way out, but each failed attempt only confirmed that they were fighting a losing battle. In a final act of defiance, the alien leader ordered the remaining ships to break off and flee in different directions, hoping to split Earth's attention. But the humans were ready. The ships had been planned for every possible scenario, and the alien strategy was nothing more than an easy target for Earth's more advanced systems. A barrage of missiles fired from the human fleet, and the alien ships began to disintegrate one by one. "Break off," the scout leader ordered, but the aliens were no longer in control. The momentum had shifted. Earth's power had been unleashed, and there was no turning back. On the ground beneath the surface of Earth, in the secret command center, the tension was palpable. The team had been monitoring the battle, waiting for any sign of weakness from the alien fleet. As the leader's forces started to break apart under the relentless assault, the team exchanged looks of grim satisfaction. "We've made our move," one of the officers murmured. "Now it's their turn to answer." The battle was far from over, but one thing was certain. Earth's fleet had sent a message to the galaxy. Humanity was not to be underestimated. They were no longer the naive species that the aliens had once mocked. The humans had become a force to be reckoned with. In space, the battle raged on, and Earth's fleet pressed the attack. The alien ships, now scattered and crippled, could not hold their ground much longer. The once proud alien scouts were now struggling to survive, their military might shattered by the unstoppable force of Earth's technology. The tide had truly turned, and in the darkness of space, the humans made it clear to the galaxy that they would no longer be anyone's prey. The tide of the battle had shifted irreversibly. What began as a foolish underestimation of Earth's strength had evolved into a nightmare for the alien fleet. One by one, the alien ships fell, their shields flickering weakly before giving way to the relentless barrage of humanity's advanced weaponry. The once proud alien fleet, feared across the galaxy, was crumbling beneath the weight of Earth's unexpected power. In the midst of the chaos, the leader of the alien forces stood on the command bridge, gripped by an overwhelming sense of dread. His once confident demeanor had shattered. The arrogance that had defined his people's approach to Earth was gone, replaced by the crushing realization that they had underestimated humanity in the most catastrophic way. "How are we losing?" the alien leader demanded, his voice rising with panic. "We have superior technology, faster ships, and more firepower. How are they doing this?" His second-in-command, once an unshakable figure, now stood at his side, visibly shaken. "They're adapting too quickly, sir," Their tactics are unpredictable. Every time we try something new, they counter it before we even realize what's happening. The silence in the aftermath of the battle hung heavy in the void of space. For the first time in centuries, the galaxy was forced to take notice of Earth. The alien fleet, once considered the mightiest force in the galaxy, lay in ruins. It was a spectacle of destruction that no one had anticipated, and one that had shaken the foundations of the Galactic Council. On the other side of the galaxy, in the gleaming halls of the Council's headquarters, the leaders of countless species convened in a tense silence. The messages from the defeated alien fleet had just arrived, their distress signals painting a picture of devastation beyond belief. The news had spread like wildfire. Humanity had not only defended their planet, but had done so with an overwhelming force that no one could have predicted. The council chamber was filled with representatives of powerful species, each of them now facing an uncomfortable truth. Earth was no longer the small, insignificant planet they had once believed it to be. In fact, the implications of Earth's sudden rise were terrifying. If a planet like Earth, untested, isolated, and seemingly primitive, could muster such strength, what else was hiding out there in the cosmos? The council's head, a towering figure from the Zelgoth species, was the first to speak. "This is unprecedented." His voice was deep and commanding, yet there was a tremor of concern beneath it. "We have underestimated humanity for far too long." He looked across the room, meeting the eyes of the other representatives. They were silent, unsure of how to proceed. For millennia, the Council had been the ruling force in the galaxy, and they were not accustomed to challenges, especially not from a species so far from the galactic center. A representative from the reptilian species, known for their cunning and strategic minds, leaned forward, his sharp eyes gleaming with suspicion. "We cannot allow this to continue. Earth must be contained, or else our authority is in jeopardy. They have shown they can outfight even the most advanced fleets. This is a threat to all of us. But how can we contain them?" Another representative, a humanoid from the Felix species, asked. "Their power is beyond anything we imagined. We thought them weak, but now we know better. If we attack them again, they may retaliate with even greater force." The Zelgoth leader's eyes narrowed as he considered the question. "We must act carefully. Earth has demonstrated incredible resilience and cunning. We cannot afford to underestimate them any longer." Meanwhile, on Earth, Commander Daniels and his fleet were preparing for what was to come. The victory was sweet, but the war was far from over. The Galactic Council would not take kindly to this humiliation, and it was only a matter of time before they would regroup and strike back. The human fleet remained vigilant, knowing that the galaxy was now watching. Earth's forces had proven themselves capable of taking on the most powerful fleets in the galaxy, but the next battle would be even more difficult. The Council would undoubtedly send its most powerful forces to avenge their defeat. Commander Daniels sat in his command chair, the weight of leadership pressing down on him. His thoughts were consumed by the future. How could Earth prepare for the challenges ahead? How could they defend against a galaxy that now saw them as a threat? "We need to secure more resources," he said, breaking the silence in the briefing room. "Our fleet is strong, but if the Council decides to send reinforcements, we need to be ready. We can't let our guard down." The officers around him nodded, understanding the gravity of the situation. They had won a battle, but the war was far from over. Humanity had proven its strength, but now it was time to prove its survival instincts. Commander Daniels turned to his most trusted advisor, Lieutenant Sarah Hawk. "Make sure we have eyes on all the key sectors. We need to know what the Council is planning, and we need to be ready for anything." Lieutenant Hawk saluted. "Understood, Commander. I'll get on it immediately." The crew had been through the heat of battle, and now they were faced with a new challenge: waiting. The alien forces had retreated, but no one could be certain for how long. The galaxy was a volatile place, and the Council would not forget the humiliation they had suffered at Earth's hands. As Earth's forces prepared for the inevitable response from the Galactic Council, They couldn't shake the feeling that this was only the beginning. The galaxy had seen Earth's power, and it was only a matter of time before it would try to crush them once and for all. The humans had proved their worth, but the real test was still ahead of them. Would they be able to hold their ground? Or would the overwhelming might of the galaxy be too much for them to handle? The tension in the command center was palpable. Commander Daniels stood at the helm of the Earth's flagship, staring out at the vastness of space. The stars seemed indifferent to the struggles below, but for humanity, everything was about to change. The Galactic Council had sent their best and most formidable forces, and Earth was now the target of their full might. The silence was broken by Lieutenant Sarah Hawk, who walked up to Daniels, her face grim. "Sir, we've received confirmation. The Council fleet is en route. They're sending everything they have." Daniels clenched his fists, his mind racing. This was it, the moment that would determine Earth's fate. Could humanity survive against a force this large and powerful, or had their victory been a fluke? It was a question that would soon be answered. "Gather the fleet," he commanded. "We need to move out. If we're going down, we'll take them down with us." The fleet mobilized quickly, humanity's ships gliding through space with calculated precision. The ships weren't as large as the alien behemoths, but they had the advantage of speed, maneuverability, and most importantly, human ingenuity. Earth had learned quickly from its previous victories, and the weapons they had developed were now their greatest asset. The enemy fleet, led by the Galactic Council's flagship, appeared on the horizon, a wall of ships so massive that it seemed to blot out the stars behind it. The sheer size and firepower of the fleet was intimidating, but Earth's forces stood ready, waiting for the signal to engage. Commander Daniels spoke to his officers, his voice calm but resolute. "We know what we're up against. We've been through worse, but we can't let them see our fear. Our mission is clear. Protect Earth. Show them what happens when you underestimate humanity." The fleet moved into position, and for the first time in days, there was a brief moment of silence. The final preparations were complete. The weapons were primed. The course was set. Then the first shots were fired. Laser beams erupted from both sides, the dark vacuum of space illuminated by the flashes of battle. The Galactic Council's fleet responded with an overwhelming force, their ships launching powerful missiles and energy beams that could tear through the strongest defenses. But humanity's fleet had learned to adapt, dodging and weaving, using every tactic at their disposal to avoid the oncoming fire. Earth's ships struck back with precision, hitting weak points in the alien vessels, tearing through their shields, and piercing their hulls. The human fleet wasn't as powerful as the Council's, but their tactics and resolve were what made them dangerous. "Hold the line," Daniels shouted into his comms. "We've faced worse odds. We're not giving up now." As the battle raged on, it became clear that Earth's military was not going to go down without a fight. The alien ships were falling one by one, their once imposing numbers now dwindling. The sheer determination of humanity was overwhelming, and it sent a message to the rest of the galaxy. Earth would not be conquered. But the Council wasn't done yet. A massive flagship, the largest ship ever built by any species, emerged from the heart of the fleet. Its hull was reinforced with the most advanced alloys, and it was equipped with weapons capable of devastating entire planets. The Council had thrown everything they had into this final assault. The flagship began firing relentlessly, its powerful energy beams cutting through Earth's defenses like a hot knife through butter. Ships were destroyed in moments, their hulks drifting lifelessly through space. The battle was becoming increasingly desperate, and Daniels knew that Earth's survival was hanging by a thread. "Deploy the reserve fleet," Daniels ordered. "Activate the stealth ships. We need to turn the tide now." As Earth's hidden fleet began to emerge from their concealed positions, the tables slowly began to turn. The stealth ships were humanity's trump card, their cloaking technology allowing them to strike from the shadows, unseen and undetected by the enemy. One by one, the hidden ships launched surprise attacks, catching the Council's forces off guard. The tide of battle shifted, and for the first time, the Galactic Council's forces began to falter. Their flagship, once the pride of their fleet, was now surrounded by Earth's ships, unable to fight back against the sudden onslaught. Explosions rocked the flagship, and it began to break apart, its once imposing structure now a burning wreck. Commander Daniels watched from the bridge of his ship as the Council's fleet crumbled, but he knew this victory wasn't just about defeating their enemies. It was about sending a message to the galaxy. Humanity had arrived, and they were no longer to be underestimated. The Galactic Council, stunned and humiliated by the unexpected defeat, withdrew what remained of their forces. The battle was over, but the war for humanity's place in the galaxy was just beginning. The crew of Earth's fleet celebrated their hard-fought victory, but Commander Daniels remained somber. This was not the end. The message had been sent, but now, the galaxy would know that Earth was not a planet to be ignored. The cost of their defiance had been high, but humanity had earned its place among the stars. And as the fleet turned back toward Earth, Commander Daniels couldn't help but wonder, how long would the galaxy let them keep it? The future of Earth was uncertain, but one thing was clear. Humanity had proven that it could fight back, and no one, not even the Galactic Council, would ever forget the strength of the human spirit.